I do believe that law, in a way, is a healing profession. I know medicine is used primarily as the illustration of a healing profession, but in law you have disputes. And how do we heal people who have these disputes? And the answer is to try to resolve them without dueling. I mean, we had Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. They resolved their dispute, but not in a way that I think was a real good one, especially for Hamilton. So law, at least, ends up where you resolve it in a courtroom, or many times these days outside of a courtroom. And the goal is to do it in a best way possible, in a structured way, a predictable way. So one thing we do in law, I think, one of the reasons I'm glad to be part of that profession, is I do view it as a way that in a civilized society, we need law to keep things from devolving into mobs and people taking over. So it does serve a really important function. I majored actually in math in college, and you'd think that math was exactly the opposite of law. But in a lot of ways, from math, it was how do you solve problems? And a lot of times there were different ways. And in many situations, of course, I couldn't solve the problem, which is really similar to what I find in law. It's really about asking the questions. It's not even getting to the answers. My mother was in elementary school, we used to call it gym back then, now it's physical education. And I used to almost see her and say, what are you doing? I mean, you're rolling the ball out. And only when I started teaching, I realized how much she planned, how much she learned and knew about teaching, and that I had a lot to learn about teaching from her, which I did. And my dad was a guidance counselor and then went into administration. But he also was very passionate about education and teaching. And I think just as a matter of course, it sort of dripped over to me, and it was the kind of thing where I knew it would be a real honor if I can follow in their footsteps. And in a way, that's what I think I'm doing. I'm carrying on their tradition, which really is to be in the teaching profession, which I find to be a real honorable one. I think teaching's teaching, whether you're an elementary school first grade teacher, high school teacher, or a law school teacher. And when you're dealing with other people and trying to help them learn things, it's the kind of thing that really you benefit as much, if not more, than they do. I never saw myself as a pizza delivery person where I was just delivering information. It was really about how can I get it to the students in a way that they really can learn the best. And I found since I started that collaborative learning approaches where they would be working in small groups, where we would use experience as a way to further skill sets. The fact that they'd get generative feedback where when they did something, they can see on their own what they needed to improve, almost like performance tracking. This really fit with, I think, the Elon approach of there are different ways to learn and better ways to learn. And we're going to try to do the latter as much as we can so that students really not only learn well, but they're enjoying it.